Alrighty, I think we can go ahead and just get the party started already. Well, where's my settings? All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Owl House weekly discussion streams. We are continuing chugging along as we discuss the final episode of the Owl House finale. I am your host, your humble host, Covey, once again here with y'all today, and I am joined by my lovely co-host, by my friend across the pond, Tom from Convergent Media. Tom, want to say hi to the people?
I feel like the word lovely is doing a lot of legwork there.
No, you are lovely. We love you.
I'm acceptable.
Well, we accept you and we love you.
I just about meet the Los Pollos Hermanos company standards.
Yes, exactly. Also, of course, my cat is here to join us as well. She's here to talk about the Owl House, as we all are. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thanks so much for joining us today during this live stream, during this Sunday. Shadow is here, splinking in the chat. Welcome. Magical is here as well. No worries. Stay as long as you're able to. I appreciate you stopping by as long as you're able to. Theus is here as well. Hello. And Toon. Yes, of course, I had to make Titan lose the background for today because it's amazing. I love her and it's so badass. And we're going to talk about it today. So I had to. I had to do it to him. Naturally. I hope y'all are having a lovely Sunday. It is been quite a week, but we are here to talk about the Owl House. Where we last left off last week was talking about the Collector and this idea of where the Owl House kind of stands on this idea of kindness and forgiveness, right? And redemption and characters that are worth trying to reach out with that kindness and forgiveness with, and certain characters that are pretty much a lost cause, right? And so we were talking last week about how the Owl House definitely has that nuance where the show in and of itself is very pro kindness and forgiveness, very pro giving people a second chance, and giving people the chance to better themselves, right? That's definitely a very key message of the show. But introducing this idea with Bellows and the Collector, and how even though he tried with Bellows, right? Bellows is definitely too far gone to respond to something like that. So
it's the you extend the long arm of peace, but with the caveat that the person on the other end doesn't necessarily have to take it.
Yes,
and
exactly.
won't necessarily take it.
Exactly. And like when people are not willing to make those changes, right? Not willing to better themselves or really acknowledge reality and the truth, right? Because I think like that's a big piece of. Sorry, I know this is not what I intended to talk about right at the top today, but I guess this is where we're starting. But there is like a something to say with the Owl House, right? About how a lot of these characters, the mistakes they make are often out of ignorance, right? Or at least ignorance is a part of why they make the choices they do, right? Like, for example, with Lilith, right? She didn't know that the curse was going to like permanently hurt Ida, right? And so that was like a mistake out of ignorance. But it's when being confronted with the truth, like how do you respond to that, right? Like, so once these characters are acknowledged with the truth, right? Like once Lilith realizes that Bellows is lying to her, right? And when she realizes the truth of the matter, she takes responsibility, right? And that's the key difference between characters like Lilith and Amity and characters like Bellows, right? Because when Bellows is confronted with the truth, right? When all those years back when Caleb met Evelyn and was like, hey, by the way, this is my GF, and she's pregnant with my child, and we're gonna start a family, right? And Philip's response to that was not to question his reality, was not to question like, oh, are witches really not as bad as I thought they were my entire life? The way that Caleb was able to question it. But Philip instead dug his heels and doubled down and, you know, stuck with his beliefs and continued to cause harm, right? And so, and he's been doing that for what, hundreds of years at this point, right? So there's really no getting through to him. And so I think that's like a key difference that the Owl House is kind of demonstrating for us, right? Like this idea that when people are confronted with the truth, when their ignorance is finally, you know, not a viable excuse for them anymore to continue the harm that they're causing, like how did the characters respond to that, right? And it's clear that the Owl House, the show, is trying to tell us that when we are in the wrong, because you know that's the thing, right? Like we all make mistakes, we're all human, we all have blind spots, right? We can't know everything all the time, so we're all gonna make mistakes, right? But it's about how do you choose to respond to learning the truth, right? And how do you take responsibility for the harm that you caused due to your ignorance, right? And characters like Lilith and Amity and you know, whoever else are characters that responded with taking responsibility and trying to take accountability for the harm that they caused, right? Which is not what Philip is doing, which is why we can
Phil.
which is why we can stomp his gooey ass into oblivion, and it's totally good.
Phil, bloody Phil. You can't trust anyone called Phil unless they're called Phil Collins.
No, it's so true. You can't trust anyone called Phil. I have an ex that I dated a while ago named Phil, and
You fool! You should never.
It was a red flag.
Dated someone called Phil.
It was a red flag. I should have known.
If it wasn't Phil Collins, then you shouldn't have done it.
Yeah. That was see, that was the mistake I made in ignorance, and now I know better.
Now you know. Now you know. Yeah, I mean, it's like with characters like Amity and Lilith, there's the additional factor of them having been sort of, you know, one of them is just like middle management in the pecking order.
Exactly.
The other is a literal child in the pecking order.
Exactly.
And one, you know, Bellows built the damn pecking order. He is the pecking order. He's right at the top.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and Amity and Lilith having been groomed from a very, very early age to behave in certain ways, sort of delegates the responsibility of their bad decisions a little more broadly across the social structure that begat them in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's not to say that people who are the top dog and create the pecking order can't experience their own form of redemption or can't be like open to their own form of redemption. You know, Kuvira in the Avatar comics gets sort of a redemption arc, and she's like literally a totalitarian.
She's like literally a dictator. Yeah.
She puts the dick in dictator.
Yeah, she does.
I think someone's not.
Sorry, I'm not going to apologize for thinking Kuvira is hot.
Thank you. And you should not apologize for that. Like, don't apologize for fact.
Like, she's a dictator and she would kill me, but
well, she's not a dictator anymore. She's much more placid. Great. If you read the comics. She undergoes her own. But you shouldn't apologize for fact. You wouldn't apologize for the sky being blue. You know, and if people are mad about it, then they can stay mad and die mad.
Literally. Also, Shadow, your comment made me laugh. Men will literally turn themselves into goop instead of going to therapy. That's so real. That's so real.
Classic.
Freaking men, man, turning themselves into goop.
He's more goop now than man.
It's true, very true. Yeah, so where we left off last time, Luce got blasted by Bellos's fungus ray, right? This sort of green energy that's been infecting the entire Boiling Isles, and you know, she straight up dies, right? Like this is
straight up dies. There's a fungus among us. It's very sus.
Yeah, this is really I was really emotional during this the first time I watched it, because you know, I like didn't quite know what was happening. I mean, like I obviously knew they weren't gonna kill Luz, and but this was still like a really like shocking moment, right? And like the visuals and the music and the way that it like plays out like really hits you like really hard. It's a really just beautifully animated sequence, and the music was really lovely too. And this fucking moment, man, like just fucking got me, like really tugged at my heart where, you know, Luz is like, I still don't know what to say, like we're being separated again, right? And it's like, but when she did say that, I was like, oh, okay, she's not dying. She'll come back. But I was also like, wow, this is really emotional. It really did get me.
I took one look at the remaining running time and was like, okay, yeah, she's fine.
Well, yeah, obviously.
She's fine. She's fine. It's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be
Feels like a
fine.
bit of a every time it closes around the eye, it feels like a callback to is it Agony of a Witch? What was the penultimate episode of season 1? You know the one. You know
Oh
the one.
yeah, no, absolutely. This was totally a callback to the end of season 1 when she almost got petrified, right?
And then friggin' Ida and King go fucking sicko mode.
Oh
They
my
go
god.
absolute insanio style.
It's really awesome actually.
They go insanio style, and they're about to open a can of whoop ass on this fucking Christian despot.
Can we talk about how String Bean like just dies when Luz dies? Like String Bean just like turns back into the staff and like goes inanimate like Toy Story mode, and I'm just like, oh no.
String Bean's like, I'm out. Fuck this.
Which actually makes me think, like, if people die and their palismans like revert back, I don't know what that implies. I feel like that implies some stuff. Anyway,
I mean, I don't know if they revert back because I mean, I don't know because obviously there's all the palismen who have no witches that are looked after by.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so maybe not quite.
But I think String Bean maybe just like lost the will to live.
Oh, that's even more sad. Why would you say that?
What do you want me to say? String Bean decided to go take a fucking nap.
No.
String Bean decided to catch up on the Reader's Digest.
I'm
like,
gonna
no.
cry all over again. Oh my god. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I totally agree with that, Shadow. I also really love the line like I still don't know what to say. And then later, right, we get the line when Luce is like actually dying and she's like drowning in the in-between land and she's like, I should have thanked them. I was like, oh, my heart just fucking rip it out of my chest. Why don't you? Ugh.
You should have said rest in spaghetti.
Rest in spaghetti, never forgetty. But the light that Luce's death, you know, has caused is floating all around the boiling isles, and we see like this visual, right, of like the bellows goop fungus and his glowing blue eyeballs like staring at these floating light orbs, right? And you know, I feel like this idea of light and Luce, and obviously Luce's name means light, right? And light is something that is so kind of central to her character, right? Like light
it's leitmotif. It's the first spell she learns. It's
it's this motif.
It's back from the brink.
Exactly. It's this recurring motif that is constantly associated with Luce, like this idea of light. And, you know, we saw light was the first spell that she learned. Light was the thing that, you know, she gave to Philip to set the whole course of a series of events, you know, going into motion. You know, light is the thing that breaks the collector's spell. Light is something that's kind of symbolic, right? Like light is like I want to talk about like
it's
what
a literal light motif.
Yes, a good one. But like this idea of like what does light kind of represent within the themes of the show, right? Like this idea of light being this motif that recurs with Luce as a character, right? And
think because I'm not of the mind that it's like light in contrast to dark in like a good versus evil sense. I'm of the mind that it's light as in like clarity. Because usually it accompanies like a moment of clarity for any given character. So
Yes, yeah.
it's the first spell that she learns. It's how she discovers the Titan communicating with her through the glyphs. It is a moment of clarity for Amity when she shows the light spell to Amity,
Yes,
and Amity
exactly.
realizes that maybe the hierarchy she's built her expectations on is a lie. It's clarity in terms of breaking free from the collector's illusions.
Yes, yeah. I love the way that you put that with this idea of clarity, right? And you know, we talked just a minute ago, right, about this idea of ignorance, right? And how do people respond when given that clarity, right? When the light is shown on their ignorance, how do they respond, right? So that's exactly what Luce's character represents for these other characters, right?
But also for herself.
And for herself. Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
her ultimate moment of clarity takes until the last season to happen, and that's the, all I wanted was to be understood.
Exactly. So this idea of light being that thing that casts away the ignorance. And also, like, I feel like light also is tied into this idea of kindness and forgiveness, right? Like it's not exactly like light is good and dark is evil, but light kind of represents this idea of connecting with other people, right? Of being able to extend that arm. I feel like that's another kind of representation of what that light.
But you know what else?
Yes,
Light is a rainbow.
that is
Light
true.
it's all the colors in the spectrum together, and you know what that means?
That means it's gay.
It means it's fucking gay.
It's fucking gay. That's
It means it's
exactly
fucking
right.
gay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just really love that we're continuing on with that leitmotif, with this scene, with Luce's death scene, and this visual, right, of this light floating across the Boiling Isles as everyone in the Boiling Isles, right, is responding to this light, like the students at
And
Hexside.
it's like they just know.
Yeah, and everyone just knows exactly what's happening, right? And even
Camilla's puppet just crying. It's the
exactly,
saddest
like
episode.
literally
It ruined
everyone
me.
knows exactly what is happening, right? And like
And in a
Amity,
sense, it's a moment of clarity for the collector.
yeah. Oh my god, that's so true. Oh my god. This show is brilliant. This show is so brilliant. I really love the way that that's tied together. I didn't even make that connection actually.
You're welcome. This
Yeah,
is why you need me.
no, absolutely. Thank you, Tom. Because I mean, like, this is exactly it, right? Like, the collector getting this moment of clarity here, right? Him actually learning about what death means. And, you know, he's trying to, like, bring Luce back. And he's like, the archivists aren't here. They couldn't have taken her. Where did she go? And the light represents this moment of clarity for the collector as well, too, right? Like, him actually learning about the true nature of death and how does he respond to that, right? He doesn't respond with, oh, it doesn't actually matter, I'm just going to continue on doing my thing anyway, but he actually like has a heart, right? And he doesn't want to hurt people, and so like he now has to take accountability for his actions, right, due to this clarity that has been brought to him. So it's exactly like Luce is this character that does this for every character on the show, right? Like with Ida, with Lilith, with Amity, with Hunter. Like Luce is this light that shines on other people and casts away the ignorance that they're experiencing, and then she has that kindness and forgiveness that she's able to extend to them. And I love the way the show ties together Luce and light and these themes. And I'm so glad that you brought up that connection with the collector too, because I didn't even make that connection, and it's 100% accurate, and it just goes to show the way that this motif is continually being brilliantly deployed in the show. And yeah, it's good writing. It's good writing.
But now it's time for Ida to go fucking sicko mode.
Yeah, so now Ida and King go sicko mode. Actually, a really cool detail before they go sicko mode that a lot of people have pointed out since the finale has come out. So as we know, now that we have finished the finale, at the end of the finale, we learn that, you know, the glyphs as we know them no longer work, but
because it's the language of that specific Titan.
Right, exactly, because it was a language of that specific Titan. But because King is getting stronger at the end of the series, and he's like getting bigger and his powers are getting more developed, he starts to have his own glyph language. And this is a really neat detail that people pointed out, is that in this moment, in the middle of the special, when King is, leaping forward and he creates this like bubble shield to protect the collector, we actually see his glyphs, King's glyphs. Like this one on the right is the exact same one that we see at the end of the special. And then this one on the left, we don't see at all. It's a totally new glyph that I think people have been speculating looks like an ice glyph of some kind, which is just really cool. It's just a really neat detail that that they threw in there. It's just very cool, very neat. I really love that.
I had not even noticed that, but that is very cool.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
I appreciate it. And yeah, I love this moment with Ida too, where she's like, back up, kid. I don't think I can control myself right now, right? Like she at least has that like moment of control where she's like, I don't want to hurt you, but I'm about to like lose my shit.
He's like, excuse me, child, it is time for me to go Insanio style.
Exactly. Yeah, and the animation too is like so awesome. Like this moment was just so badass. Again, that moment with the collector and the light, right? He's actually holding the thing of light and then he like lets it go and watches it float up into the air. Oh my god, this show, the light, it's so good. Hello, Morgan. Thanks so much for joining us. Welcome. Yeah, it's just brilliant. It's just so good. I love it.
The whole fight scene is just
the fight scene is awesome.
Kiss. Exquisite, beautiful. 12 out of 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would recommend on TripAdvisor.
So good. Yeah, absolutely. So Luce the light, this little light ball, floats into this in-between realm, and then we see it fall into the water, and then we, as it touches the surface of the water, we see Luce's body then falling down, right? Which is a awesome visual. It's just so good. And then we see Luce's body, falling down into the water, into the darkness, and then she has this moment, right, where she's like dying, literally dying, and she's like, I should have thanked them. And I was like, oh, just rip out my heart, why don't you? Like, seriously, I was like losing my shit at this moment. I was like, oh my god. Ugh, yeah. I'm like tearing up right now just thinking about it.
I probably would have been more sad if I hadn't been completely certain that she was going to be fine.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course she's going to come back, but just this idea of like, her being like, her final thought right before she died was just gratitude for what Luz and Ida, or what King and Ida have given her. And that, it just fucking punches me in the heart.
And it's very in character.
It is very in character. It's so sweet. Of course she does not get pulled into the darkness. Instead, she gets pulled up and out of the water by none other than Papa Titan. And we talked a little bit a couple weeks ago about the hootie coming out of the eye, and how I think it's literally the funniest fucking thing that they could have done, is put this hootie in the Titan's eye and then not address it or acknowledge it whatsoever.
But literally, it implies a lot. It kind of, I think I said this as well before, that it kind of makes me wonder if the hoodie is like the palisman of the Titan. Like, like do they all have a hoodie, or is hoodie just the specific palisman, for lack of a better term, for this specific Titan? We don't know. Hoodie's just kind of around.
Yeah. I think it's funnier if he's less like a palisman and more just like a fucking tapeworm or something.
Just a horrible, like, yeast
the nightmare tapeworm. Toon says, I think what puts this above Anne's death is that there's more of a mystical reason for her to be revived. There's a vague but logical connection to what we see.
You say it like there isn't a perfectly logical reason for Anne being revived.
Yeah, I think they both did a good job, and I feel like they both are beautiful and impactful in their own ways, right? Like Luce's sacrifice was mostly about the collector, whereas Anne's sacrifice, I
It was
have to
mostly
think.
about the memes.
It was mostly about the memes, yeah, for the lulz. I honestly don't really remember because it's been so long since I watched the
It
amphibian
was just
finale.
it's.
But
Does it happen? I think after the big anime fight.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember if it happens either before or after. She expends all of her life energy in self-sacrifice to do something. And I can't remember if that was something that happened before or after.
Yeah, I don't really remember. But anyway, I do think that they both are great. Yeah, I don't think one did it better than the other necessarily.
I met God, and God was voiced by Charlene Yi.
Yeah, exactly. And this god, this Titan, is voiced by Aaron Hansen. Yeah, Shadow Link, Aaron Hansen jump scare. I am personally not necessarily a Game Grumps fan. I didn't really watch them.
And also JonTron, ooh.
Oh yeah, JonTron is also gross, but Aaron Hansen is like a pretty big name that I've obviously heard a lot. So it was neat to get this little cameo from him and to see people recognize him and it's always fun, you know, as a YouTuber myself. You know, it's always fun to see other YouTubers like in other stuff and like big stuff like this. So yeah, I thought it was a neat little cameo.
Yeah, I'm indifferent to it. I don't have any opinion about Aaron Hansen, but the JonTron association makes me uncomfortable.
Oh, that's fair. I think Papa Titan's hoodie represents the bugs or creatures that crawl around on the corpse. Yeah, that could be it too, right? It could literally just be like a bug on a corpse. And the fact that we don't know is what makes it so funny to me. Can we talk about Papa Titan's outfit? Because it's amazing. And
he's just the dude.
I
from the
need
Big Lebowski.
I need these sweatpants in my life. Like these look so freaking comfortable and like this is such a peak like dad parent outfit, right? Like just the bathrobe and the sweatpants.
He's the dude. He's just the dude.
He's literally the dude. Yeah, exactly.
he's the dude, and he abides.
Yeah.
The dude abides.
Yeah.
And he's gonna drink milk directly from the carton in the supermarket and then pay for it with a check.
Exactly. And he's wearing the Bad Girl Coven t-shirt, which is really funny, right? We know that he's obviously a fan of Ida because you know, she's taken such good care of King. But yeah, it's just really sweet. I love the design of him here. I think it's just funny and fun and sweet. And you know, we get this moment at the end of this scene, right? Like when the Titan dies and says goodbye, right? Like the Titan actually reverts back to his like actual form before he like falls into the water, and it's like this epic moment that was like incredible. But like the fact that the first time that he, you know, approaches Luce, he's kind of I have to assume that he's like chosen this form for himself, that he's like choosing the way to present himself to him or to present himself to Luz. And if that's the case, I just think it's really sweet that he like just presented himself as like ultimate dad. It's just very sweet.
Of all the ways to do it. He just got done watching The Big Lebowski and it was like, I vibe with this guy.
Exactly, literally. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, Toon reciting the intro narration from The Big Lebowski. Sometimes there's a man.
Exactly.
I don't want to call him a hero. What's a hero?
Exactly. And yes, exactly, Magical. He's just a lounge dad, a laid back lounge dad. I love it.
He's the dude.
He's the dude.
Or duda, or your dudeness. Or El Duderino if you're not for the whole brevity thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, Luce is like, you can't be the Boiling Isles because the Boiling Isles is dead looking, right? And she's like, does that mean that I'm also dead? And you know, the Titan's like, no, you don't want to do that because if you go under the water without a portal, you really will be dead looking, right? Which of course sets us up for when the Titan himself goes down under the water, which is again good writing. I really liked this scene. I think this scene was was like peak finale to me, right? Like I mean, like it was kind of the same, similar to the Amphibia finale, right? With the scene with
It's
Anne and the god, right, kind of talking and
the
reconciling things, right?
the prospect of a scene in which the main character dies, quote unquote, and meets their maker in the great beyond
Yeah.
is not a unique scene. It's been done before many, many, many times.
But I love the
Um,
execution of it here. I just think it's really well
it's
done.
the execution, because I think, like, I remember watching Unnamed Wizard series part finale in that
Yeah.
and hating it when they did it. I don't know what it, like. It felt so disingenuous. It felt so like,
Yeah.
what the fuck
Yeah.
is Dumbledore doing here? Why does he have this power? What
Oh no, we lost Tom first.
humongous
Oh,
manipulator?
yeah. You cut out for
But
a second,
when
but we know what
Amphibia
you're
did
saying.
it,
Yes, when Amphibia did it.
am I audible?
You're audible now. I can hear you. Hello? We can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you. Okay, well maybe now we can't hear you. I was a little worried about this scene before I saw it because the finale already had so much to do, but it really caught me by surprise. But yeah, I really like this scene. So
I'm back.
you're back. The last thing I heard was when Amphibia did it.
And then I cut out. My internet's really bad. I'm so sorry. Yeah,
No
when
worries.
Amphibia, it felt so like tongue in cheek. But then, Amphibia as a whole is a much more tongue in cheek series and a much more
Yes.
comedy oriented series than the Owl House. But I'm trying to think of what it reminded me so much of, but it's just this felt so much more well set up, I think, than other examples I've seen of
Yeah.
similar sort of scenes, where this is a realm we've been to before. We know it exists.
Yes. Yeah. Totally.
We understand that it is like this in between, this limbo betwixt dimensions. And so it just clicks. It all makes perfect sense that it would also be the place you go before you die. Like, it's
Right. Yeah.
between the realms of life and death as much as it is between the realms of Earth and of the Boiling Isles
Absolutely.
and many other dimensions that presumably exist, because we know that the archivists
Right.
are extra dimensional beings.
Right. Totally. Yeah.
Um,
So
but like that image of the Titan's self-sacrifice and just like the huge body just like sinking into the
oh, so
pools
good.
is really kind of chilling.
It's an
Um,
amazing visual. It's an amazing visual. And like I was literally shaking the first time I watched that, because like just seeing that visual and like the music playing, and it's just like so epic, and it's like, oh my god, yeah, I loved it so much.
mhm.
There's a lot in this scene actually that I want to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is this line that Papa Titan says, which is actually a callback. I didn't realize the first time I watched this. I saw someone actually point out on Twitter later that this is actually a callback. You know, Lou says, "I can't believe you're King's dad," and Papa Titan says, "I think King said it best once. I am both king and queen, best of both worlds." And if you don't remember, King said this line in the Grom episode in season 1, after Luce takes her crown and like tosses it on the ground because she's like sad or whatever, King picks it up and like puts it on his head, and he's like, "I am king and queen, best of both things." And this is a callback to that line, which I didn't even realize was something that King had said. I totally forgot about it. So that's really fun and neat. But also something interesting about this line, both king and queen, best of both things. First of all, diversity win. The ungodly rotting corpse that we all reside on is non-binary. So that's fun. But also it implies something kind of neat, which is that we kind of had a lot of theories going around about like King's dad and like where is King's mom, right, or whatever. But it turns out that King's dad is both King's dad and King's mom. So I think like this also kind of implies that the Titans like reproduce asexually. Yeah.
They're like big axolotl.
Yeah, they're like big axolotl. They just lay their own eggs and kind of reproduce that way, which is also good news for King, because now we know that he can carry on the Titan race on his own, right? Like once he's grown up, he just got to lay his own egg, and then new babby Titans can come about. So that's really exciting. He just got to lay some eggs, and then they're back on the Boiling Isles. How they're gonna coexist, I have no idea. But yeah, I just thought that was a neat little lore drop.
I missed everything for like flat 30 seconds.
Oh, I was basically just talking about the asexuality and how King can carry on the Titan race on his own,
which is neat.
It's just neat. It's a neat little lore thing that I think is fun. But I also asked like, oh, what is that going to look like, thousands of years in the future with witches and Titans like learning how to coexist with each other?
I like to think it looks good.
Yeah, I like to think they get along.
Just some scrunkly scrimblos.
Just some friends. And then we learn here, right, that this is an in-between world, and Papa Titan has been keeping an eye on King and those who have been kind to him, right, which is really, really sweet. And also, like, a lot of people have been posting on Twitter and other places about like all the things that kind of implies, right? Like, oh my God, Papa Titan saw the moment where, King signed the adoption papers to become a Clawthorn. And it's just like, oh yeah, like that's just like very sweet to think about, very heartwarming and heartbreaking to think about, right?
Well, I like to think from the Titans' perspective, it's probably just heartwarming.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they seem like a world-weary, wise being,
Yeah.
They had their time, and now it's time for someone else to play the role of parent.
Exactly.
In a way that they couldn't. They're like the dude. They're wise.
Exactly.
They're a Zen-like figure.
And again, like we're continuing this kind of discussion, right? And Papa Titan has some really key points here as we continue this kind of nuanced discussion about kindness and forgiveness and reaching out the arm of peace, right? And who deserves that forgiveness and who should we kind of protect ourselves from by not extending that arm, right? And so, Luz actually feels some guilt about the fact that she's not able to reach Philip, right, or Bellows with this kindness and forgiveness, right? So, she says, like, when I saw the Collector fly up to Bellows, I hoped with all my heart I would see them blast him away. So she wanted to see the Collector obliterate Bellows, right? And she's like feeling some guilt about that. Which,
and he's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, exactly. And like, I love this moment with the Titan too, right? Because we know that Papa Titan has made mistakes as well, right? Like, again, all these characters, every character has made mistakes. Every character has done something wrong, but it was
except for Hootie.
Except for Hootie, of course.
Hootie doesn't make mistakes. Even the one time when Hootie made a quote unquote mistake was eating the letter from who we thought was at the time.
Right, exactly.
But it wasn't. So in a way, Hootie was just protecting King.
Hootie was doing us all a favor. Exactly.
Hootie made a mistake. Hootie is infallible. Hootie is the reason Luminy became a thing. Hootie is flawless.
Hootie is the MVP of the show, and it's a literal travesty and a crime that Hootie did not get any speaking lines in this episode. I'm still upset about that. Actually, that is actually like unironically my biggest gripe with the finale is that Hootie did not get any speaking lines. He's literally the titular character of the show.
He is the Owl House.
How are you not going to give my man a speaking line?
In this video essay, I will.
Yeah, literally in this video essay, I will literally. I'm ready to go off about how this was the biggest flaw of the Owl House is Hootie not having any speaking lines at the finale.
It's not like they didn't have Alex Hirsch there in the studio.
Exactly.
Reading the lines.
Exactly. They could have given us one, just one. Exactly, Shadow. Hootie's one mistake was not speaking in the finale.
Was that Hootie's mistake, or was that the mistake of the creators not giving Hootie any lines to say?
Yeah,
Hootie
and
doesn't make mistakes.
yeah. Hootie's the only flawless character, but the Titan is not flawless, right? And he actually admits that here, right? I attacked the wrong person, because he trapped the collector and trapped him here for nothing, right? And you know, even Papa Titan is a character that takes accountability, right? And takes responsibility for his mistakes. And you know, by giving Luce the power and sending her back to the demon realm at the end of the scene, right? That's kind of Papa Titan's atonement for his mistakes. But you know, Luz asked this question here, you know, like, does this make us as bad as Bellos, right? And this is where Papa Titan really outlines the nuance for us here, right? Like, have you been drinking Ida's homemade apple blood? Which is a funny line.
He literally is like, you fucking drunk?
Are you fucking drunk? Like,
you asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you currently fucked on edibles or something? Because you are clearly not thinking straight.
Exactly. And you know, Luz says, like, Bellos says he's trying to save humanity, right? And we're all just trying to save our families, so isn't that the same thing, right? And like this is where the Titan gives it to us straight, right? Like, you assume Bellos is coming from a good place, but he doesn't care about anything except for being the hero in his own delusion, right? And this actually, it's funny because, like, I feel like this scene, part of what made this scene work so well for me was actually like how much it kind of captured the essence, or like had these callbacks to the first season of the show, right? The first one being that king and queen line, which is just more of a fun one, but this idea of Bellos coming from a place that's not genuine, right? It reminded me of the moment, actually, in the Grom episode as well, right? Where one of Luce's fears in the Grom episode was the internet troll, right? Who was like being shitty and ignorant to Luce, and Luce attacks back with like, you're coming from a place of you're not coming from a place of intellectual honesty, or something along those lines, right? Before she attacks it. But this kind of just, but this reminded me of that, right? Like, obviously that Grom moment was played for laughs, but this is the same thing, right? Like, Bellos is not coming from a place of genuine honesty, of good faith, right? Like, that's the word I'm looking for. Like, Bellos is not acting in good faith, right? And that's the key difference. And I think like I think that this is like such an important lesson for kids, right? And something for us to learn, right? Is like, when we are engaging with people who are ignorant and people who are causing harm due to their ignorance, right? Like, their response to learning the truth, right? To getting that clarity is kind of what we should pay attention to in order to decide how we want to engage with these people, right? So like, for example, when Luce confronts Lilith and Amity and says, hey, by the way, what you're doing is fucked up and wrong, and like, this is why, and they respond with, oh shit, you're actually right, and I need to be better, versus Philip, right, who when is confronted with the truth and is given the clarity of the reality of the situation, and instead of realizing he's wrong and taking accountability, he doubles down and continues to be stubborn in his beliefs and continue to cause harm to people, right? Like, that's the difference. That's the difference in extending this arm of peace, right? And I think this is an important lesson for all of us to learn, right? Like, I think like it is important to give people chances. It is important to not assume the worst of people. This is something that I try really hard. It's not easy. It's really not easy, especially in today's world where people are horrible, right? There's so many horrible things going on in the world. But I think like one of Luce's like key character traits and what makes her such an amazing character and such an amazing person is this this innate desire to see the good in people, right? Is to see the best, in people. And I think that that's admirable, right? I think that that's not a weakness. I think that that's an absolute strength that Luz has, right? It's exactly what she said to the collector, right? Like, no, you didn't do anything wrong by extending that arm of peace, by extending that kindness and forgiveness, right? Like, it's not wrong to do that. It's absolutely a strength. But recognizing when to do that, right? Recognizing like when people are acting in good faith versus when they're acting in bad faith, and to stand up for yourself when people are acting in bad faith to protect yourself and the people that you love, I think is
And
a
it's
really important distinction, right?
I think it's an especially important distinction living in the world that we do, where the complex aspects of human nature get lost in the battle for moral superiority, uh,
Exactly.
especially on the internet. It's something I've been thinking about a lot recently because I've seen this trend that's really, really pissed me off. Like, it really, really pissed me off. Um, and before I continue, I want to preface I'm not defending the person I'm about to talk about, but I
Sure.
do acknowledge the like complexity of the person I'm about to talk about. And because obviously the movie Oppenheimer is coming up rapidly this year.
Mm,
And so the man of J. Robert Oppenheimer has been floating in the collective consciousness again. And there's been this like meme trend recently of people sort of poking fun at his immortal interview in which he says, I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. Like, very, very famous quote, and a fascinating interview that is really worth seeing because, that interview has been the subject of psychological discussion for years and years and years. Like, it's,
mm,
the question of what that man was thinking when he said those words has been the subject of so much debate
sure.
because it's so fascinating to see a man go from creating and spearheading a project to create the most destructive force in human history, and
Right.
then suddenly have this change of face after seeing what it was capable of, and spending the rest of his career rallying as hard as he can against it, and feebly trying to correct a mistake he made.
Absolutely.
Um,
I
and
mean,
people have
just
been
really quick,
people have
before you continue, just in case the audience doesn't know who Oppenheimer is, do you want to give like
he
a quick?
created the bomb. He was
Yes,
the
yes,
he was he was the head of the Manhattan Project, which created the atomic bomb.
yes. Okay,
Um,
just in case people didn't
and
know.
like, people have been taking that quote and they've been framing it like a YouTube apology video, basically making it out like, oh, boo hoo, you're this pathetic man. Oh no, I created a big bomb and oh no, it killed people. Like, no, it's not that simple. Like,
Right.
there
Yeah.
are so many like political factors that went into the Manhattan Project, what the scientists were told about the Manhattan Project, the degree to which it was considered necessary in the
Yeah.
context of the war. Of course, it wasn't. Like, it's such a complex scenario. I'm not at all advocating
Right. Of
for these people
course.
the creation
Yeah.
of this weapon. But when Logan Paul films a body in a forest, that's an idiot with no foresight who only apologizes to cover his own skin. Logan
Absolutely.
Paul, comparing a dumb YouTuber doing something stupid and apologizing purely to save their own clout to one of the most important figures in history who did one of the most destructive and important things in history,
Right.
and who went on to frame such a complicated ongoing discussion about human nature and why we do what we do and what compels us to do what we do,
Right.
has been simmered down to dumb one-dimensional internet discourse.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the age that we're living in. That's what it's become. It's everything's black and white.
Right.
It's good or it's bad. It comes from the same place that demonizes characters like Lilith
Oh
on the
yeah,
ground.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think like that's so true, right? Like people just tend to flatten things and erase that nuance and see things in black and white, right? Which I think the Owl House is a show. What I really love about it is it really challenges that black and white thinking, right? Like and this is why I spent so much time last week kind of in more of like a defensive place, right? Instead of talk, because like people online, the very stupid takes. And I don't want to spend too much time on this because we talked about it last week, and this is a very stupid take. But people talking about how the Outhouse is better than Steven Universe, right? Because of this like idea of, oh, we don't forgive bad guys, right? Which is not what the Outhouse is saying. So
yeah, it's like if that's what you got out of that scene, then I'm sorry, but you were not paying attention.
Exactly, 100%, right? So no, exactly. I think people, especially online and especially on Twitter, tend to really want to flatten the nuance and see things in black and white, which is just like, it's not helpful, it's not productive, and it's not interesting either, right? Like, I don't understand. Yeah. Anyway, I won't go off about ignorant, stupid people because that's not what I want to spend my time doing.
No. But
Um,
it's complex, isn't it?
right.
Because I think the Owl House was clever in keeping Bellows himself a relatively simple villain and making the discourse
Yes.
around him the part with the nuance. Because
Yes.
when we get into the territory of characters whose motivations are understandable in terms of doing what could vaguely be called bad things, that's when you get into the grounds where a lot of writers don't actually know what to do with it.
Right.
And it's one of my least favorite things. It's like with the vox populi in Bioshock Infinite, where they're like, yeah, unfortunately we've made these revolutionaries too sympathetic because they're actually fighting for something good, so we need to have the villain like kill a baby to be like, oh look, they're actually bad. you
Right.
know they do that a lot with a lot of characters. It's my one complaint about how they handle Zahir
Yeah.
in Korra. Like, I love Korra season 3, and Zahir is a magnificent villain.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come until the following season when it's like, oh, maybe the way he went about things was wrong. But in the season itself, he kind of very quickly just devolves into angry, impassioned villain instead of like cold, calculated moralist.
Yeah.
It's a shame, but you tend to get that a lot. In many ways, I don't even know how the writers of the Owl House could have gone about it if they'd made Bellows someone with motivations that were understandable from some perspective.
Right.
You know,
Right.
we
Yeah.
understand
Totally.
what he does, but his motivations are not themselves understandable. They're extremely stupid and
Yeah.
motivated by
Yeah.
greed and religious zealotry.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's understandable in the sense that like we get
We
how
understand,
A
but
led to B, but it's
it's not
like it's
understandable in the way that you look at Zahir and go, wait, no, that makes sense. I get
exactly.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Um. Yeah. Yeah. Shadow. We talked about Simon Infinity Train last week a little bit too, about how you know the way that he's written and this idea of redemption, right? It's like, yeah, maybe he could have had a chance to get better because, like, Simon at the end of the day was like a 17, 18-year-old kid, right? And like, not like Bellows, not like hundreds of
Yeah.
years worth of oppression or anything. So like maybe if Simon had gotten some like counseling or something, not on a murder train, then maybe he could have gotten better. And yeah, and like I think it's exactly what you said, right? Like there's a tragedy to his character, Shadow, and it's not just that he's like a crazy evil guy, right? There's definitely a lot of trauma
Yeah.
and sadness
He's
that comes with that, right? But
he's the Travis Bickle,
right, yeah,
um,
exactly.
where his downfall is so inevitable, but the fact that we understand the complicated integers that led to that happening in the first place is what makes it sad.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Anyway, this is where this scene kind of culminates to, right? So Bellows is taking over the Boiling Isles, and Papa Titan is losing control and dying, and he wants to give the last of his powers to Luce. You've already helped King so much. Let me use the last of my powers, last bit of my life to help you, right? And Luce is unsure at first, right? She's like, do you want to give this power to me? And Papa Titan is like, you seem like a good witch, which, first of all, fuck my heart. You seem like a good witch. And then he says, I can't give you anything unless you choose to accept it. So will you choose yourself? And I love this moment so much. You guys, I cannot tell you how much I loved this moment, because not only does this tie back to the themes that we established like right at the beginning of season 1, right? Like I'm thinking the second episode of season 1 where Luce is like, I am the chosen one, destiny, I'm gonna go find my quest and like be this hero, right? And then she learns, right, that like no, that's actually not how the world works. And like you are not extraordinary because like some destiny or some like prophecy has told you that you're special, right? Like you are special because you choose yourself and you choose to be special, right? And um everyone get out your bingo cards, because this moment also like just really reminded me of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because this idea of choice is such like a key theme in Buffy, right? And I think like it works so well in the same way that it works for Luce's character here, where it is her choice, right? Like she could have chosen here to say like, no, I can't do it, I'm gonna lose, I'm too afraid, I'm just gonna like sink into this puddle and like die and wither away, right? Which like, you know, from a storytelling perspective, like if you're gonna look at this as like, oh, this is the Owl House finale, then you can look at this and say like, oh, obviously she has no choice, obviously like she either dies or she gets the power up and she tries to fight, right? Like there's an obvious thing there, like there's obviously no choice there. But from Luce's character's perspective, she absolutely has a choice here, right? She can choose to take this power and fight back, or she can choose to give up, right? This is an active choice for her. This is something that she has to decide. And I absolutely love that she does have to make this decision here, and that she does actively make that choice to choose herself and take that power, because it really brings her character arc full circle, right? Because self-doubt, self-confidence, all of these things were part of Luce's arc as she has grown this confidence and grown to learn who she is, right? And who she is as a person is someone who will choose to help people if given that opportunity, right? And the fact that she actually makes this active choice here, just it really reminds me of like those themes from Buffy where you know, everything is always a
Wait,
choice.
wait, you watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Yes, surprise, surprise, for those of you who didn't
Wow.
know. But in Buffy, right, like this idea of choice being something that's within your power, right? And how you always have this choice to do the right thing or the wrong thing. Like there's literally always going to be a choice to make. And your choices are what define you as a person, right? Like it's not like some prophecy or some destiny or anything like that, right? Like that's the whole point of like in Buffy season 1, right? When she there's like this prophecy, for those of you who don't know, spoilers for Buffy season 1, there's a prophecy at the end of season 1 where she has to go fight this big evil vampire, and in the prophecy it says that she is going to die if she fights this vampire, right? And so at first she says, no, I'm not going to do it, I don't want to die, and you know, I'm choosing not to do this, right? I can't go do this. But then she gets confronted with the reality of like death and, you know, people that she cares about being in danger, and her friends being traumatized, and she makes the choice that even though this prophecy says that she's going to die, she makes the choice to go fight and confront the bad guy anyway, right? And that is like something that defines who she is as a character. The fact that she's making this choice to protect the people that she loves, despite the fear that she has, right? And so again, like it's very similar with Luce here, right? Where her choice is giving us an insight into who she is as this character, and who she is as someone who will always choose to do whatever is within her power to protect the people she loves instead of giving up. And I think like that is something that was given to us since the beginning of the show, of like, this is who Luce is, and this is who she is growing to be, right? This is her character arc. And so I absolutely love this moment. I love that we had these just couple of lines, right, that say like, I can't do this unless you choose to do it, so will you choose yourself? And then of course Luce does choose to accept it, which is just a
Mm,
beautiful moment. And
it's loose. The thing that struck me about this moment, that I hope you haven't mentioned already,
yeah.
because you cut out several times there
Oh
for me
yeah.
because my internet sucks. So stop me if you already said this. But the thing that stuck out for me most about this bit, um, was more from the perspective that Luce has also over the course of these 3 seasons, continually put everybody else before herself, almost like at times almost like a defense mechanism away from taking a moment to look inwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like being the one to help others will justify her in existence.
Yeah.
When you look at the episode Reaching Out, I'm just going to bury my own sadness by focusing on the father-daughter relationship with someone else.
Right.
But she rarely chooses herself.
Yes. Yeah.
It's always like putting everybody else first. You see it in Thanks to Them as well. It's like, I'm going to be this sacrificial lamb. I'm going to martyr myself because I am the lowest common denominator of everybody's lives, and
Right.
they must thrive at my expense. That is the only way, which is of course nonsense. And so the way I read it was more from that perspective. Like, will you for one fucking time choose yourself?
Yeah, I really love that reading of it too, because yeah, absolutely, like Luce is that kind of character, right? That like, especially in season 3, right? Her arc very much was about like this martyrdom that she had, about how she didn't feel worthy, right, of like being in the Boiling Isles, and she was essentially choosing everyone else over herself, right? She was choosing like, oh, other people are going to be better off without me. And so that this moment kind of brings that full circle as well too, right? Where she is choosing herself and she is putting herself in that position to be with the people that she loves, right? Versus sinking into the abyss and dying. So yeah, I love that reading of it too, that she's doing this for herself as much as she is for everyone else.
I wish I had the option to sink into the abyss.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
Unfortunately, I don't.
Yeah, Luce's initial motivation to befriend Amity was self-indulgent, and we get her doing stuff that's less and less over time. Yeah, definitely. And I think like her choice to be with Amity, right, is another instance of her kind of like choosing herself. And as she, in the first 2 episodes of season 3, as she's been kind of like unsure whether she wants to stay and whether she wants to stay with Amity, right? Like, I think like her and Amity's relationship is another choice that she's made, right? To choose being with someone that she cares about. Yeah, so Luce chooses herself, and the Titan, Papa Titan, gives the last of his powers to Luce. Use your time wisely. What about Ida, the owl lady? And Papa Titan's like, send her my regards. I'm a big fan, which is fun. But then Luce is like, no, you idiot. What do you want? What about your fucking son? Like, say something to King, right? Like, no, King. What about King? And then we get this very cute moment, right, where Papa Titan whispers something into Luce's ear, and Luce says he'll love that. And of course, we find out at the end of that episode what it was. But it's very, very sweet, very wholesome.
He says, "Motherfucker."
Yeah,
Like at the end of Brick.
exactly.
I'm sorry, that was a somewhat obscure reference. There was the only other example I could think of where a character like whispers something to another character, and it's like, what did they say?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
sorry. And then we get this epic moment, right, where the Titan reverts back to his original form, or his true form rather, big skeleton beastie Titan, and then it slowly sinks down as the whole world rumbles and shakes, slowly sinks down into the water and the light and the music, and he says goodbye, Luce. And God, I loved it so much. It was just so epic and so cool. And like, I can only imagine like how crazy this was to animate, right? Like this giant skeletal being sinking into the abyss. Like, it's just, the visual is just incredible, and I really want to give my kudos to the artists and animators for the scene, because it's so incredible. It's really, really amazing.
In a way that won't make sense to you, this scene also reminded me a lot of the last episode of Pantheon.
Yeah, I still have to watch that.
Which you should really watch. And the last episode of Pantheon will make you cry like a big fucking idiot.
Nice. Love it.
And you'll get fucking snot and tears and piss all over yourself, and it'll be really embarrassing. Everybody watch Pantheon, please. It's really good.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely still need to watch it. Yeah, exactly, Shia. Tell him I love you. It's so sweet. So Luce, gets the powers and comes back. Meanwhile, the rest of the gang is still in the archive room, and they are, trying to, figure stuff out and save people, right? And so the first person they obviously bring back is Camila. And she asks, "Where's Luce?" And there's really no response because, people. Like, they don't know exactly what happened to Luce, but they know that something bad happened, right? And they know that something happened. Amity tries to use her powers, but she's like too exhausted and can't use her powers.
Well, that's what they think anyway, but the reality is that the Titan just died.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, the
Because
Titan is the source of their magic. They can't use the magic after the Titan's gone, can they? So they'll have to
no, I think they
friggin-
can't they? Because isn't
I don't
Ida
think so.
using? No, Ida doesn't use magic. So someone will have to clear this up.
I
for
don't
me.
think that was my understanding, is that like the Titan is dead. They draw their magic from the Boiling Isles.
Because I know the glyphs draw the magic from the Boiling Isles, but I didn't think that normal witches drew their
Yeah,
magic
but how
from
else
the
would they
Boiling
learn?
Isles.
How did Ida learn wild magic? It was by communicating with the Isles.
Was it? I don't.
Yeah, that was the whole point of that episode when she takes Luce out to the snowy knee, the knee place.
I don't know if that's quite right. Someone will have to clear that up for me.
That was I think oh god, am I an idiot? Am I a big idiot?
I feel like they can use magic on their own because they have their bile sac, right?
They got their ball sack.
Their ball sac. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking, Morgan.
Am I gonna have to fucking sink into the abyss now?
Maybe.
When I was watching it, I was like, overexertion maybe, but like, what does Camila know in this case?
Right.
Like,
yeah. I mean,
at the time was that the Titan was dying, and that would surely have some effect on their magic. That was
right. But I think at the end of the episode in the time skip, even though the Titan is gone, right, they are still able to do magic.
Yeah, but King's around, so
yeah, maybe it's
just,
maybe I don't know. You could be right. I really don't know, but
I don't know. Maybe I should just shit myself and die.
No, stop.
That's the only reasonable thing I can do here.
Oh my god. Well, because no. It has to be because they're exhausted, right? Because Camila says Camila gets them to use glyphs after this. So if the glyphs work, then the Titan magic still works, right?
Maybe it's just because they all took too many drugs.
Oh yeah, and Toon brought up a good point too, that everyone used their magic in the human realm.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, I think it is just because they're exhausted. They ask like, "What about Luce?" And I love this moment from Camila too, right? When they ask, "What about Luce?" and Camila just like she's jumping back into action, right? She's like, "Luce is a Noseda." You know what that means? That means she's gonna be okay and she's gonna be great. She's way too stubborn to let any of this get her down, right? And I love how far Camila has come too, right? Because like at the beginning of the show, she was someone who was so worried for Luce, who, wanted to send Luce away because she like didn't necessarily like think that Luce had it in her, right? To make friends and do all this stuff, right? Like, so Camila didn't always believe in Luce, I feel, right? And then now in this episode, even after Luce has literally died, she still has total faith in her daughter that like she's going to be fine and she's going to come back, which I think is like just so beautiful and so powerful. And I love Camila so much, you guys. She's the best mom and I love her.
12 out of 10.
12 out of 10.
12 out of 10. She's also hot.
Yes, she's also a MILF and we love her.
12 out of 10. 12 out of 10.
Yeah, so she'll be okay even though she's like in tears, right? That was just a great Camila mom moment. And she's already like best mom. She like doesn't even skip a beat and she's like, let's do this thing. I know how we can help. And she breaks out the glyphs and gets to work, which she's amazing and I love her. Meanwhile, the king and Ina are still fighting Insadio style, sicko mode on
They've gone
Bellos.
sicko mode.
With their eyes going all crazy. I love this thing with King too. I only just noticed this, that he does this like hiss. He does this little hiss where his tail sticks up, and it totally reminds me of like the way a cat hisses when a cat gets mad. Just a nice little bit of character animation.
The ongoing debate as to whether or not King is dog or cat.
Right, exactly. Like King just being like a culmination of all the house pet animals.
Is King a dog or a cat? Yes.
Yes, exactly. Is King a dog, a cat, a bird, or a gerbil? Yes.
Yes.
um Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good point too, that Camila breaking out the glyphs is a great payoff to her struggling with them and for the future. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
I
really good
loved
point.
that. That was one of my favorite little bits.
Yeah, I love that. So the collector's magic isn't working anymore because Bellos is using the Titan magic to cancel it out. And I talked a little bit last time about how um I really like the way that they wrote the collector, right? Like the fact that the collector didn't know what mortal death was and had to learn that in this episode, and that's kind of the thing that gets him to change his mind, right? About like what he's doing and his behavior. Um and I talked a little bit, I think, in the first discussion stream about how I felt like I maybe would have liked it to be developed a little bit more. And like, I feel like it happened a little fast in this episode. And obviously that had to do with pacing and time constraints and everything, right? But I will say that the thing that like really helped sell it for me, and the thing that like really like got it to strike a core, like strike me my core, is the performance here. I'm forgetting the name of the voice actor for the collector right now, so maybe someone in the chat could remind me.
Bob Hoskins.
But this yes, Bob Hoskins. But this performance is like really really good, and like the way that the collector is like, I don't want anyone else to go missing, I don't want anyone else to get hurt, and like the saying it through tears and like, I'm sorry for everything, like this really sold it to me, right? That the collector is like in deep regret and like really is hurting because of the consequences of his actions, right? And really like sold this idea of like a child learning about death for the first time. And it's just a really really amazing, powerful performance, and big kudos. Yes, Frida Wolf, thank you Morgan for that in the chat. Yes, Frida Wolf did an incredible job with this performance. Really really amazing.
Bob Hoskins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just really 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 amazing performance here.
Just a little Scrimblow.
He's just a little Scrimblow, a little Bab.
A little Mippy.
A little Mippy.
I want to ruffle that tuft of hair poking out the hat.
I know, right? So cute. And again, we are back with the light glyph, right? The first kind of big glyph that gets shot out from Titan Luz to protect the collector is the light glyph. So again, this idea of oh, is it the same? Is Frida Wolf also Marcy? Is she the same voice actor? I didn't know that. That's awesome.
I don't think that's it. I think it's that I'm sorry for everything is something Marcy.
Oh, it's something that Marcy also said. Sorry, yeah, misinterpreted your message, Shadow. Okay, got it. Yes,
I'm pretty sure Marcy was not voiced by Bob Hoskins.
No, yeah, okay, got it. Thank you for clearing that up.
Ailey 2 voiced Marcy Wu.
Got it. Okay, gotcha. But yes, they both did say I'm sorry for everything. That is true. String Bean wakes back up, right, and goes back to Luz, which is cool. We get a very cool moment of Luz, like this point of view shot of Luz looking down at her hands, and like the light glyphs being all over her hands and fingers, and like the glyphs like coming up out of the air. as she waves her hands, and then like her opening her eyes and having the light glyph right in the middle of her iris with like the middle of her pupil with the rest of the glyphs kind of creating the highlights around her iris, and her eyes being like the dark color. This design is awesome. I absolutely love this design. It is absolutely so killer. I love
Everyone gets to be a furry.
Everyone gets to be a furry. You
Ida
get to
gets to
be
be
a
a
furry. You
furry.
get to
Luce
be a
gets to be a
furry.
furry. Lilith gets to be a furry. They all get to be furries. Everyone's
Everyone's a
fucking furry.
furry.
And when everyone's a furry, no one will be.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Everyone's a furry. We love it. And I talked a little bit last time, right, about how this design seems very Satan inspired, very devil inspired to me, right?
Very
With
stand.
the skeletal like rib cage and fingers and bones and legs and the horns sticking out and the sharp teeth and the dark eyes, right? Like yeah, I don't know if
It's
this was
very it feels very Berserk to me, because one of the main things
mm,
Berserk does is play around with aesthetics of good and evil, where
yeah.
the characters are regularly pitted against like the analog for the Catholic Church called the Church of the Holy See, and
Mm,
there's this villain called Mosgus who like becomes an angel, but he's like a belligerent bastard. He's very he's the character who I feel was the biggest inspiration, in my opinion, for Bellows in terms of like religious
yeah,
zealot.
that makes sense.
And then Guts is just this black. I mean, he's the Black Swordsman. He's this gross-looking demon boy.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that's really like a big theme of the show too, right? Like this idea of um just because like things are kind of out of the ordinary or out of the norm like doesn't necessarily make them evil or bad, right? Like this the Boiling Isles is supposed to be like this
mm,
grotesque, horrifying like nightmare realm, but it's the place where, you know, Luce goes to find herself and to make friends for the first time, and you know, to bring light to people, right? And so there is this kind of juxtaposition that the show has always played with this idea of subverting this idea of like what is traditionally thought of as good and evil. And I like that they continue to play with that with this character design, with this Titan design, kind of, you know, having these traditional kind of evil coded
mm.
aspects with like the skeletal limbs and the dark eyes and the fangs and the horns, right? Like these are all traditionally coded as like evil qualities, but Luz is our freaking hero, man, and she takes down the church, right? Which is Bellos. And
Yeah, so much of that boils down to the way the church over many hundreds of years has um, appropriated and
yes.
codified, particularly like pagan, for lack of a better term, because obviously
Yes.
pagan is not one thing, but like pagan aesthetics, and made them demonic and you know, all of that. So it's very religious in nature.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like this was totally intentional, especially with that kind of like religious undertone that the show has had with Bellows, right? And as we get that final confrontation, you know, I talked about it a little bit last week, but the imagery to me just seems very chapel-like, and Bellows like hanging up on the heart of the Titan just visually reminds me of like Jesus on the crucifix. And I feel like this was intentional, and this was kind of harkening back to those religious undertones that were there since the beginning. But I don't know, I could be reading too much into this, but I feel like this was kind of intentional.
I agree.
But yes, anyway, so such an awesome design, absolutely love it. Really, really cool. And I love this little moment too, right? Like after Luz comes back and she's like, "Wait, I can't think of anything cool to say," and she like kind of stumbles on her words. She's like, "Collector, they couldn't keep me away from. Oh, dang it, hang on, still can't think of anything to say," right? And that's the thing that clues in Ida and King that, yep, this is absolutely our Luz, right?
She's just a teenage dirtbag.
She's just a teenage dirtbag, baby. Oh, yes, we love it. We love to see it. And this animation and this whole fight sequence is so epic and so awesome. Like the visuals and the music are so incredible. And I love that this like big climactic moment too is very much, the collector goes off kind of on his own to go help the rest of the people, right, that are stuck in the archive room. And so after the collector leaves, like this whole fight, like with Luce and Ida and King, I absolutely loved it. I thought this was so awesome, and I loved that we're back at our kind of core trio, right? Like our core trio that has been the heart of the
Yeah.
show since season
Gotta
1.
come back to them, otherwise I would have filed an official complaint with
Yes,
Ofcom.
absolutely. I'm so glad that we just get this trio moment with the three of them, right? And it really does harken back to their core relationship that they've developed since the first season of the show, right? Like when Luce is struggling with this spell here and she's like trying to blast the magic, and then Ida comes by and she like holds her hand and is like, concentrate, think of what you want, right? Like it's peak mentor, right? Like this is the core of Ida and Luce's relationship. It's Luce doing something that challenges her and Ida being there to support her and like encourage her and give her that boost and that strength to be able to be successful, right? And that's like the heart of their relationship, the core of their relationship. So I love that we got that little mentor moment with Ida and Luce as the two of them together push back, right? And then we see like the red grass come and overtake the green goop, right? And again, it's that visual juxtaposition, right? Like red is typically like evil or like hell, right? Like we think of the Boiling Isles as like this demonic realm, but as the red is coming across the land, right, it's a symbol of reclamation, right? We're reclaiming the land back to our natural state, right? Back to nature, back to how it's supposed to be, right? And I absolutely love the visual language of that too.
Unsowing the seeds of colonialism.
Yes, the seeds of colonialism. And actually we kind of skirted over this, right? But this idea of colonialism and the Titan, right? The Titan being the body of the Titan being the land in which we live on, right? And the Titan also of course being sort of like non-gendered in a specific way. Like I think it does kind of tie this idea back to like this is the motherland, right? In a lot of ways. Like sure he's Papa Titan, but this is like a motherland kind of thread that's being tied here, right? So something that we kind of skipped over in the earlier scene that I actually did want to talk about is this idea. This idea.
You can see that's kind of a, I don't want to say a common, but it's not like an unheard of way of
Right.
depicting the like genealogy of a physical land as being part of the genealogy of a culture.
Yeah.
Which is the way they choose to go about it as well in Wolfwalkers in a way with Mole. And the holding of Mole hostage. But also Hilda with the mother of all trolls.
Yes, I was absolutely thinking of Hilda as well because
and how that what's the word I'm looking for? It's a synecdoche with Hilda's own mother and her relationship with her own mother and how they choose to explore that.
100%, right? And like this is like a recurring theme in Owl House too, right? Like this idea of Luce and her mother, right? Like Luce and Ida have a mother-daughter relationship. Luce and Camila obviously have a mother-daughter relationship. King and Ida have like a mother-son relationship, right? King and his father have this parental relationship, right? And as King's dad has been watching him this whole time, right, looking over him, this idea of the motherland is looking out for us and taking care of us, right? Again, kind of ties into this colonial idea, right, of like the land in which we live is a part of our family, right, that we have to protect and take care of.
And then fucking Phil comes along and is like, what if I got my nasty fucking Christian cum everywhere and made it green?
Exactly.
Nasty and horrible.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, exactly, right? So it does again just tie into that colonial theme, and I thought that was really well done too.
It's nasty though.
One thing I like about the design too is that it feels like it was kind of a mix between Ida and King. Oh yeah, that's a good point. I really like that too. That's a cool cool tie-in. And I love this little moment too, right? Like this little happy jump that Luce does as her and King are both going wah together. Like it's just so cute, and I love it. It makes me so happy.
Do we know if Spencer Wan did anything for this episode?
I don't know if Spencer Wan did, but I know that Tom Barkel did the epic moment of Luce pulling Bellows off of the heart. I know that was his animation, which is he's a legend too, right? So
oh yeah, it's just that like Spencer Wan. I mean, I guess I have a real soft spot for Spencer Wan because he's done a lot of work that I particularly love, like Castlevania and Hades.
Yeah.
He's responsible for personally animating the most bisexual GIF of all time, which is the Hades hair flip
right
thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like he did a lot of work for the pilot, like so many stuff for the first, so many things for the first, sort of inherent to the fabric of the show.
Yeah, I know.
I understand he's gone off to his own studio and he's doing his own thing, but it would have been really cool if he like come back for that last episode. But I don't know if he did.
It looks like he didn't, according to Toon, which is a shame.
Well, we're gonna have to kill him then. That's, I don't make the rules.
What a shame! What a shame!
What a shame! It's the Nick Frost
that GIF, yeah. Shame. Exactly. Yeah. So the rest of the kids, in the meantime, are trying to save the rest of the Boiling Isles people. Trying to collect all the puppets together, and they're using the glyphs, right, to do this. And I love, again, there's like all these little callback moments, right? Like Gus using the floating glyph, the one that uses the one that stops you from like falling. I love that we're getting just like these little callbacks to earlier moments in the series, right? And the cute little moment of Gus's palisman and sliding down, and Hunter using the ice glyph to help him, right? Like it's really cool watching this group work as a team, especially after all they've been through together.
Yeah, I'm not crying.
I'm not crying.
You're crying.
You're crying. And then, of course, the collector comes and he's like holding the whole place together and, trying to help them out. And, the rest of the gang is like, oh, the collector is helping, right? And I think that's a beautiful moment, right? That because the collector is just trying to make friends, right? That's his ultimate goal. And we saw in the last episode when he was trying to make friends, or not. Was it this episode or the last episode? I forget. When the collector's like trying to oh yeah, no, it was this episode when the collector is trying to make friends with the Hexide students and they like run away from him scared, right? And now he's like learning, right? Like what it kind of takes to be friends with people is like you actually have to stand up for them, right? And I love like this moment of Willow and the gang being like, oh, he's actually helping, right? And them also realizing like, yes, the collector is not a bad person, right? He's not trying to hurt them.
He's just a scrimblow.
He's a little scrimblow. The Titan's arm comes up, and this is like a crazy epic moment too, right? And I love this. I freaking God, there's so much about this that I love so much, right? This little moment of Luce sitting on her staff with Ida and King, like it reminds me of that moment, right? In season 1 with the three of them on Albert, the staff together, like looking down at the Boiling Isles, right? Like I don't know if this was an intentional callback to that moment, but like it has to be, right? Like it's just like them sitting looking down at the Boiling Isles, like it's such an epic moment, and just reminds me of when they were looking down at the Boiling Isles, in season 1, and the hand coming up is so like such an epic visual too,
and also slightly horrifying visual.
Yeah, horrifying, right? Absolutely.
I
Oh
can't
yeah,
rewatch
too.
it.
The dual meh moment is the dual wet moment is such a brother sister moment.
It would
Yeah.
be really funny if it was meh.
Meh.
They just kind of gave up.
Yeah, absolutely, totally. So Luce is starting to feel the powers power down a little bit, and they have to cut Belos off where the magic comes from, and of course that means obviously going down to the heart, right? So they blast down in their magic ball, and they blast this Belos kaiju and go down to his core, right, where we see Rain is there whistling away whistling the Ida's Requiem theme, right? um and then this is a reunion moment between Rain and Ida, right, where Ida finds Rain and pulls them out and they're safe. I personally, again, like I have such mixed feelings about Rain, right? And
I don't think you do. I think you have very clear feelings about Rain. You just wish Rain was better.
yeah, I do. I wish Rain was better. And I did talk a little bit last time about how my feelings towards Rain in this finale is complicated because, I said last week, right, about how I felt like I wish there was more lead up to them being as big of a part in this final battle as they are. Like, I wish there was more that felt like it was leading up to this moment of Rain being there, in the earlier episodes. Of course, that couldn't happen because of the time constraints and the show getting cut short. So I don't necessarily blame the writers for this. But
Obviously, yeah, the whole thing of Rain and Darius and Eberwolf acting from the shadows to try and
yeah, I wish that was
take them
more
down.
fleshed out in season 2. Essentially, that's kind of what my wish is. But this is such like a nitpicky thing, and I feel so bad for being a hater about this, but I really don't like the scars, the tear scars on Rain's design. And I know that some people think it's cool, and I think some people are like, "Oh yeah, what a neat design," or whatever. But the reason I don't like it is because Rain, throughout the entire show, has been this character who is continually traumatized and continuously taken control of and continuously manipulated. And I hate that we have like these tear marks now that are just like a reminder of how much Rain has been traumatized and like taken control of. And I really wish that they didn't do that. Like, I understand giving them scars to, like, obviously the same as Hunter, right? Like, after they were being possessed by Bellos, like they had to have some physical reminder of that. But I just don't like how they made it look like tears. Like, why do you have to make Rain look so sad all the time?
I mean, where does it rank for you in the hierarchy of like generic ways to make to communicate to the audience that a character is sad and
Yeah,
traumatized?
exactly. Like, it
I
just
think
seems a little cliche to
my
me.
there's one that would have been more cliche, and that would have been to give them a black suit. Like,
Yeah.
have them trade in their outfit for a black suit
Right, exactly. So yeah,
and like
again, that is such like a tiny little nitpicky complaint, but I really don't like the design that they gave Rain with these scars. I think that they could have
another
done
one is
something
the
better.
shaved head. The shaved head one is, yeah, have a character
Right,
shave their
right,
head.
absolutely.
Um, like then like, oh yeah, especially if you get a scene where they're like looking in the mirror as they shave their own head,
Right,
and
exactly,
it's like, wow,
exactly.
they're really
Um,
sad.
yeah, yeah. So I wasn't a fan of the Rain tear scars. I'll just say it that way. But if you like it, that's fine. I don't begrudge you for
I'm
liking it.
indifferent.
Yeah.
I'm indifferent. I have no strong feelings about Rain. I think Rain ended up doing not that much and achieved or was given basically no resolution, which is fine by me because I don't think it would have felt earned if they had. I'm glad they refocused to other things that were more crucial to the fabric of the story.
Yeah. That's totally fair. Totally fair. Yeah, Shadow. I actually like Rain's hair. Rain's hair is the one thing I like about their design, but I'm not a fan of the scars. When Ida helped Luz make the spell circle, not only does it call back to their teacher-student relationship, but I could think about the Halloween Town simple lesson: want something and let yourself have it. Oh yeah, I like that. That's a cool connection. This fucking moment, right? Like this epic, incredible moment. King, Ida, and Rain are on the rest of the room, blasting away the goop and the hands that are trying to attack Luce, right? Which again is kind of a symbolic for the fact that Luce has her family, right, to help her throughout all of this, right? Like Luce could not have done this on her own. She has her family there by her side, right, to help her back her up, right? And this fucking moment, right? Obviously, we had to get this callback. We had to get this callback, absolutely. Otherwise, what is even the point of the show if we don't get this callback, right? For I am the good witch Luz, child of the human realm, student of the demon realm, and warrior of peace.
I am Maximus Decimus Meridius, father of a murdered child, husband of a murdered whatever.
Exactly. And then like I think that they built up the tension in this moment like so brilliantly, right? Like with the goop like snapping, and the tension is
perfect.
Like it's so perfect. Like the goop, there's so much tension in the goop, and like with Luz,
there's so much goop.
There's so much goop, and then like Luz and like her glyphs like breaking as she's like pulling. Like the way that this is animated, like you can feel the weight and the tension. Like it's just so good and so brilliantly done. And the way the camera is like shaking throughout this entire sequence, like it's just so epic, right? Shout out to Tom Barkel for the animation on the sequence, because it's so incredible. And then of course we get the epic moment. Eat this, sucker! As she
Which has basically been playing on repeat in my brain since the episode.
Literally. If I could like tattoo this like gif on myself, I absolutely would, because
can you imagine if you could do that?
Yeah, right? Like that would be so cool.
We should write that down, because I feel like that's a cool like bit of futurism.
Write that down. Gif tattoos. And then her little Titan feet like slipping on the ice. Yeah, like everything in this moment, like the tension, the conflict, right? Like everything was just so brilliantly done. The music, so good. I really can't get over this moment. Is incredible. So amazing. And then with the hand like coming up, right? Like that moment where, like you see like Bellos like fighting back as he's like clinging on for dear life, right? Like it's just so epic, so awesome. I really can't stress how much I really love this moment. It was incredible.
It's beautiful. I screamed, I died.
I absolutely screamed. I was like, yes, fuck yes.
For me it was more of just like a guttural scream.
Yeah.
Like I just
yeah, absolutely.
And everybody was very confused. They're like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just watching the outhouse.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so good. So good. So
sorry
epic.
if I peaked your audio.
You're good. So Luce pulls off the parasite off of the heart of the Titan, and it turns to dust and drifts away as the grass, right, the natural world of the Boiling Isles, comes back and overtakes the land. And the crown, right, the crown that was the archive room falls on the skull of the Titan, which visually I feel like calls back to something, but yeah.
Bellos is going to be so fucking disappointed when he realizes that God doesn't exist. He's going to be so fucking disappointed. He's going to be like, what for? God damn it, I've been had. Shit.
No, exactly. Morgan Bellos reaches to the god that he fought so much to become. Absolutely. That's a beautiful way of putting it.
I like the castle falling on the skull and becoming a crown.
Yeah.
It's sort of like returning the sovereignty to the land itself.
Yeah. I like that. I love that visual. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, and that crown, along with the visual of like the goop, turning to dust and floating away, and then the red grass and the life coming back to the land, right? Like that whole visual
The
absolutely is.
collector like hiding his little head because he thinks they're
No.
gonna attack him.
Oh, he's just a bab.
Little Splobbington.
Little Splummington. Yeah, so the land gets returned to its rightful place, which is, of course, back to the natural state of things. The goop floats away and floats away into the dust. And I fucking love this scene so much. This was like the perfect way they could have gotten rid of Bellows. Like, this was so in line with his character, the fact that he pulled this final move, like this idea of like, oh, I got defeated and my only last remaining chance is, like, what is the one time I was successfully able to manipulate Luz before? Oh, I was in this form, so let me go back to this appearance, right? Because that was,
now he's a little fucking piss baby.
yeah, this is my best bet to get sympathy from Luz, right? But of course he's a fucking pissman, and Luz doesn't take shit from him. And I love the voice acting here too, right? Like the voice acting, I'm not sure who Phillips.
It's the guy who is the guy. It's not Matthew Reese. He's the other one. He's the one who voices like adult, growly, nasty Bellows. It's the other guy who was in The End of the Fucking World, whose name I can't remember. The kid.
Yeah.
Same accent, higher register.
Yeah, but I love like this line that he says when he's like, "Luz, I'm free,"
I'm
right?
free.
Like that, like little moment, that little stutter, it really just goes to show like how much he's just making this up on the spot, and how much of a fucking pile of piss he is. And like he's such a pathetic worm of a man, right? Like just like his final last attempts at manipulation are so pathetic, and like he's such a fucking loser, right? Like
even Oliver Cromwell in Wolfwalkers had the self-decency to just like
graciously accept his death, right?
Just die on his own morals. At least he was willing to do that. Like when you're worse than Oliver Cromwell,
that's fucking bad, dude.
That's low.
And I love the way that Luz's face is drawn here. Like her expression of just like, you are pathetic. Now perish.
It's very, it's like then perish.
Then perish, exactly. Like she's just so over his bullshit.
Luz, help me, I'll die. Then perish.
Then perish. Yeah, exactly. Literally, that's what her face is saying right now. Just like your mentor, I was taken over by dark magic. It forced me to do those horrible things. And it's like, yeah, no, fuck you, dude. Like, we are not buying this for a split second.
It's
yeah.
Like school in July.
Yeah, exactly.
No class.
Yeah, exactly, Shadow. She is so fucking done with his bullshit. I love her expression there. Yeah, the scene was hilarious, right? But like, it's such a perfect way for Bellows to go out because he's so pathetic. So like, if they had given him like this epic like death scene or whatever, like it wouldn't have been as fitting as just like King and Ida and Rain like stomping on his goop. Like it's so much more fitting with who he is as a character, and what the show is also trying to say, right? Like the show is not trying to paint him as this like big epic baddie or whatever, right? Like he is just a pathetic, scared, ignorant little Puritan pissman, right? Like that's literally what the show is painting him as.
Piss baby.
He's just a piss baby, weaselly little worm of a man, and that is what the show is telling us that he is, right? And does not deserve any ounce of our sympathy. And I know that some people have like interpreted this scene in a couple different ways of the rain coming down. I believe that this is Luz making the conscious choice to summon the rain and finish him off, right? Like, I don't think this is a coincidence that this rain just.
Is that something she has the power to do?
I mean, she's got the Titan magic still, so I have to. I mean, I feel like
she has Titan magic, but that doesn't necessarily mean she controls the weather.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like you could interpret this either way, right? Whether this was just like Luz allowing the natural world, right? Again, there's this idea of like the world reclaiming itself, right? Like nature reclaiming itself. I think that's a good interpretation of it too. Like if you want to interpret this as like Luce allowing the natural world to reclaim itself and take out Bellows, I think, and her choosing not to do anything, right? Again, this is a choice for her choosing not to help him. Or if she's actually summoning the rain herself and like actually just actively killing Bellows. I think like that's another way to interpret this, right? I don't know. I'm curious to hear what y'all in the chat think about the rain and whether this was Luce's intention or if she's just choosing to let the natural world think of things. So, because I think either way, actually, now that I think about it, it doesn't really make that much of a difference because it's still her choice at the end of the day. Like she's still choosing to let him die.
What matters is he's fucking dead.
Yeah, that's the important thing. Oh, interpreted the rain as the last will of the Titan. Yeah, I like that interpretation too.
But why are we assuming that the Titan can control the weather?
Yeah, I don't know. There's like zero question about Luce summoning the boiling rain.
I guess they did find the snow glyph in the snowflakes.
Yeah. Yeah, and like well, the thing that Toon, the thing that you're saying, the sparkly thing above Luce's head when she's like I saw that also, like the way that you could interpret that if you don't want to interpret that as her summoning the rain is that it's just protecting her from the rain, because
that's like, what I think it was. I think that was just her protecting herself from the
yeah, because I think it could be either or, right? But it's interesting. I've seen people interpret this scene in different ways, and I think either way is not wrong. I think you could interpret it either way.
Either way,
yeah, exactly. This is an important line too, right? Where Bellows tries once again to desperately manipulate Luce, and he says, "You'll be just as bad, just as conniving, just as evil," right? Which,
and then she dabs.
Yeah, and then she just dabs in his face. But like, it's an interesting kind of moral quandary, right? That like people have said, but again, like it's important to remember, right? It's really important to remember that Bellows is coming from a place of bad faith, right? He's arguing from a place of bad faith, right? And so he doesn't really believe that Luce is going to be just as bad as him, right? He's just trying to save his own ass. But people do make that argument, right? That it's like, oh, if you fight back against oppressors, it makes you just as bad as them, right? Which is just not true, right? We talked about this last week, the kind of paradox of tolerance, right? Like you can't tolerate everything. You can't tolerate intolerance because then that ends up hurting people, right? So I like that we kind of did acknowledge that a little bit again here, right? With like, no, of course Luce is not as bad as Bellows for taking him out because he's a fucking monster. And what I really like about this scene too, right, is like Bellows, you know, he tries to make this argument, right, about he's like, oh, we're better than this, we're human, right? And yes, Bellows is a human, but because of his actions and the consequences of his choices and the way that he has chosen to do this to himself, essentially, right? Like Bellows is literally goop in this scene, right? He is not a human in this scene. He is literal goop, and he, like, the fact that he's calling himself a human, right? Like, so yes, technically he is a human, but the fact that he is like literally goop in the scene, again, I think is this visual illustration that the show is trying to tell us, right? That like if you make these choices, if you like, you know, are a genocidal Puritan maniac who tries to kill everyone around you, like you are essentially not human, right? Like
you've relinquished your humanity.
Exactly. You've relinquished your humanity. You are literal goop on the ground meant to be stomped away into oblivion at that point.
Basically, the sum of it is that not only is it okay, it is morally encouraged to punt a Tory.
Exactly, 100%.
Remember that, kids.
Also, Shadow, that's really funny. How I look with human in my bio. That's really funny. You are not as bad as the oppressor for fighting them. How can you affirm that someone should fight for their freedom while simultaneously denying them the right to fight? Exactly, Morgan, exactly. You're always morally correct when you fight your oppressors, 100%. And I love this little moment, right, with King Ida and Rain just like stomping him into oblivion, and
Just give him a little stomp.
It's literally, it's played for comedy, right? Like it's played for laughs. Like we're meant to laugh at this moment. Like that's the beauty of Bellos, right? Like as a villain, like he's just so pathetic. He's such a loser, and he's such like a little slime on the stain of your shoe, right? Like he's literally nothing, and we're just meant to laugh. We're literally just meant to laugh. Like King's little stomp here is so cute too. Like it's just hilarious. I love it.
He had to go.
Like with Rain being like, that was extremely satisfying. Like, yeah, I bet it was. So funny.
It was the most like gruesome death they could have given him in this Disney cartoon.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's like 1 degree below Clayton's death in Tarzan in terms of like brutal villain deaths in a Disney property.
Yeah, absolutely.
Clayton accidentally hanging himself and like that horrible silhouette.
Oh my gosh.
Haunting, but,
oh my gosh.
You know, it's 1 degree below that.
Yeah. Anyway, also hi Rooster, welcome. And yes, we did talk about the Titans reproducing asexually. So yes, absolutely. Only issue is that Hilda didn't use her massive red boost, didn't join in this topic. Absolutely, that would have made it perfect.
Like, who the fuck are you? Don't ask.
Don't ask. I'm just here to help.
I'm just a tourist. Don't worry about me. I'll be gone in a second.
Oh my gosh, that would have been amazing.
Should have done a fucking Charleston on him.
Oh my god. And I love King's little leggies as he's stomping, and then him like kicking the goop off of his feet. Like it's just, again, just underlining that point of like Bellos is nothing but slime on our feet. Like he is nothing. Hilarious. I love it.
But Christians are the real oppressed group here.
Right. Oh my gosh. All right. And then Luce, the last of the Titan exits her, right? And King gets this very cute moment of seeing his dad, right? Like, oh, you do have tall jeans. It's just very cute and sweet, very wholesome. I love it. And then the Titan disappears. Interestingly, I actually didn't notice this detail until right now. As the Titan, blasts off once again into the sky, Team Rocket style, we actually see a little light glyph glisten in the sky as he disappears, which is again that's fun. Yeah, the little motif, right? Again, kind of continuing that idea of the light kind of connecting people together, right? Is continued even with that last moment. Oh, and then Ida and King catching Luce as she falls is so beautiful. And yeah, this is such like a cathartic moment, right? With like the three of them on the ground as the sun is coming up, and they're like, "We did it!" And Luce gives King the message from his dad, "I loaf you," which is the bread pun. It's just so sweet, and it's such a sweet moment from King's dad, especially because it's. King is a character who loves these puns, right? He loves these silly little bread puns. And the fact that King's dad knew that about King and gave him this message that he knew like King would find funny and like King would enjoy, right? It's so sweet and such like a moment of love between those characters. And I think it's adorable and I love it so much.
Ida's face is perfect. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, Ida's face is perfect. I love her so much. Exactly, Morgan. Bellos is worth less than gum on the bottom of your shoe. 100%. Yeah, so they did it, right? They freaking did it. After everything, after all of that, they stuck together and they did it. Weirdos stick together, and that is what saves the day at the end, right? And it's beautiful, and I love it. And also,
someone enjoyed the gum on the bottom of your shoe.
And also, Rain is there.
Rain is the Adam of this scenario.
Rain is the Adam. Oh my god! No one in the chat is gonna understand what we mean by that. But it's okay. It's fine.
They don't need to know.
They don't need to know. They don't need to
They
know.
don't deserve to know.
And then we get this beautiful final moment, right, with Camila and the rest of the Hexide kids and the collector looking up into the sunset. And someone in the chat said this earlier, and I did think this was funny. I did see this. Yeah, Shadow said this in the chat earlier. Like, did you see that the original storyboard for this moment, Odalia was standing there with the kids instead of Camila? And when I saw that storyboard, I got so confused. I was like, why is she? Why would they put her there? Why? Whose idea was that to put Odalia there? But obviously it makes so much more sense to have Camila there instead of Odalia. So I don't know what was up with that story.
Maybe there was a point in time they had an Odalia redemption arc.
Maybe once upon a time, if the series didn't get cut short, maybe there could have been a Odalia redemption arc.
Every time you get like a close to the end shot that has all the characters together as the camera pans out.
Yeah.
My brain always defaults to Over the Garden Wall when they're in hospital, and like a split second because like it zooms out and they're all together like laughing and having a good time, and Jack Jones says, and yet Over the Garden Wall. But right before it cuts, you can see there's just this kid like dressed as a duck staring directly at the camera. And it's like, is he aware of the story? What's going on?
Like, what is the deal here? Oh my gosh!
Now it's my life's ambition to just like edit him into every shot that happens like that.
Yeah, he's just like back here.
Just have him there staring.
Oh my gosh! Yes, please do that. That'd be hilarious. And then we get this like last visual, right, of the Boiling Isles, with the hand still up in the air, right, reaching for the sky with the crown on the head, right, to kind of symbolize the struggle that the characters have just been through, that this land has just been through, right, and that everyone on the Boiling Isles has just been through,
except for Hootie.
Except for Hootie, of course.
Hootie's fine.
And I love this visual, right, of the arm like being the new kind of center of town, right? Like the statue is gone and take it down, but this arm is still like this visual reminder of the battle.
Now it's
right?
Now it's like the Titan died while doing backstroke.
And like the trees all being like sideways, like that's such a cool visual too, right? Like, yeah, just kind of the scars of the battle, right? Like like these visuals are just very, very fun and very cool.
Shadow, watch Over the Garden Wall again. I watch it every year. When you get to that last bit before we get the montage of the happily ever after, as they're all in hospital, Wirt's sat in the hospital bed and they're all gathered around him, and Jack Jones delivers his little bit. Just like pause it right before it cuts away to the other realm, and you will see that weird duck kid staring at the camera. I'm gonna see if I can find it so you can share it with them.
Yeah.
I can do this. Carry on without me. I'm
okay.
I'm doing God's work here.
All right, I'm reading the chat. Oh yeah, they're totally gonna learn about. There's gonna be a whole chapter on this whole saga in the Boiling Isles history books in the future. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. In the meantime, the collector is turning people back. We get this little moment with the people being released from the archives, and we see Steve get turned back from a puppet into a person, and this is a very cute moment with Steve and Lilith as they hug and reunite, right? And we zoom out to see the rest. I found him. Oh, you found him?
I found him.
I'm gonna open the image. And...
This is more important than anything else that was happening.
We have to talk about this.
Thing. We have to talk about the weird duck kid. He's the best side character in Over the Garden Wall. What do you people do without me? I am the emulsifier that's binding us all together.
All right, here's... Wait, I've never noticed this before. What the
You've
fuck?
never noticed Duck Kid?
Is this not an edit?
No, it's not. It's there. I just went through the episode and I found him.
What the fuck? I've
I
literally
noticed him, I
never
think, on
noticed this before.
I watch it every year, and I think I noticed him on my first rewatch.
Why is he so horrifying? Why is he so like?
He's like, it's not even the only scene that he's in. He appears in other. He's at the party,
God.
I think. And he's just there, like
What
staring
the
directly at
fuck?
the camera.
Why is he there? What is he doing? What is he doing here?
I know that. Like, I mean, I don't.
He's like not even with the rest of the kids. Like he's just there in the corner.
It's because Jack Jones is the frog. Jack Jones, the narrator, is also the frog.
Right.
Which kind of makes me wonder if, like, maybe the Beast is actually Duck Kid.
Oh my God! Stop.
Maybe Duck Kid is the Beast.
How did I never notice this Duck Kid before? That's incredible.
You guys are all fake fans. You're
fans,
fake
obviously.
Over the Garden Wall fans. I love Over the Garden Wall. It's one of the few pieces
yeah.
of media I would consider genuinely perfect.
Yeah, it's incredible. So good. Yeah.
Every
How did I
year,
never
it's
notice this either too? And it's so kind of freaky.
It's because it's for like a matter of frames before it cuts.
That's so funny. That's
like
so
someone
funny.
snuck it in there. I don't know if it was in the storyboard. I don't know if like it was the background.
Yeah, we need Duck Kid in this wide shot with all the
I just
people.
I want to sneak him into a bunch of similar shots that just like zoom out.
Yeah, please do. But yeah, we get this fun little reunion scene, right? We get these little moments. We've seen all these characters before in the past too, right? Like here's our centaur with their eyes where their nipples should be, and the two like lesbian old ladies that are reuniting, and yeah, all these characters that we've seen in the past before, right?
Dahlia and her ridiculous thighs.
Oh, Dahlia looking thick and angry as Amity and Alador reunite, right? It's
when is Duck Kid getting added to Smash? I've been asking that question for years. When are they finally going to add Duck Kid to Smash?
Oh my gosh, really?
Stop
honestly.
adding Fire Emblem characters that no one cares about. Add Duck Kid.
Add Duck Kid.
Don't add another Marth. They're all Marth. Just put Duck Kid in Smash for God's sake.
Oh my gosh. Literally. And then we see all of our characters, reuniting with their parents. And yeah, Gus is reunited with his dad, and he does this cute little prank, right? Which is funny.
Gus pranking his dad in this moment is the biggest dick move he's ever done.
Right.
It's like, just let your dad hug you, you fucking little gremlin.
Yeah, it's a little cruel, but it's funny, right?
It's very Gus.
It's very Gus, yeah, where
that kid cannot keep his illusion powers in his pants for more than
literally, but it's a very sweet reunion as they hug, right? And then we see Willow and Hunter as they're standing together trying to look for their people, and then they find Willow's dads, and Willow jumps up and they hug, and we see a sweet little kiss between Willow's dads, which is great, awesome, lovely. And yeah, go ahead.
My heart goes out to the local drunk who has no friends or family, who's just like somewhere in this room, like, oh, everyone's like reuniting.
Well, that's who Hunter thinks he is for a moment, right? He thinks he's the local drunk that has no family, and we get this little moment of sadness as he sees Willow reunite with her family, and this is a little bit of a reminder, right, of the first special, right, when we saw Hunter kind of looking sadly at the drawings that the rest of the kids had made of their families, and how Hunter felt like he didn't have anyone waiting for him. But he's a fool. He's a fucking fool. He has a dad. He has a gay dad here to take care of him and look after him.
Beautiful man.
This beautiful, sexy beast of a man. And we get the voiceover, right? Like the voiceover of Luce being like, even if someone thought that they didn't have anyone waiting for him, they were in for a nice surprise.
To June, if you were surprised about Darius taking Hunter in, what have you been smoking? I'm
Yeah,
sorry, but what have
yeah.
you been smoking? Come on,
We've
dude.
been on the Daddy Darius truther train since it
Since the
got revealed.
beginning,
Since it got revealed that Darius liked the Golden Guard, essentially, right? Like we were on the Daddy Darius
and
train.
he fathers him in these beautiful small little ways. I'm very glad that Maeve Mark II Eberwolf is not dead.
Yes, yes. Absolutely. Also like Hunter in this moment is so fucking cute. Like I love him so much. Like he's just this little like autistic babby. Like honestly, like the first thing that he does when he's reunited with Darius is like, "Look at my shirt." Like he's just so cute. And I just have to imagine that he's being like, "I stitched it myself." And then he's like, "Let me tell you about wolves. They're like this
Let me
awesome."
tell you about wolf walkers. I watched
Yes,
this movie
I
when I was
want
in the human realm.
let me tell you about wolf walkers. And he does this cute little like growl thing when he's like telling Darius about the wolves, and Darius is just like smiling and like listening to him intently, and it's like this cute, adorable, wholesome moment. I love it so much.
I'm just laughing at Robin's comment. So much Bellows, like so much of the tolerant left.
Literally, I mean
We
that's
can
literally what he said, right?
we can expect him to show up on like InfoWars over the next couple of weeks. Like fucking the
Oh my gosh.
Dave Rubin report.
Literally, literally.
The only man more pathetic than Bellows is Dave Rubin.
Oh my gosh, literally, literally. But yeah, I love this Hunter moment so much with Hunter and Darius. Like I just love how the first thing he does when he's like reunited with Darius is like, "Let me tell you about wolves." Like it's just so cute.
It's beautiful. We love it.
We love it. We love it.
Love
Um
it.
and then of course, we see fucking Bump with his beautiful long luscious locks comes back and reunites with the students of why did they make Bump so sexy? Like I need to understand.
You don't need to understand. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth,
That's
as
true.
they
That's
say.
true. I really shouldn't question it. I just should appreciate
I
his
really
beauty.
I really feel like I should make an enamel pin out of Bump Got the Rump or
Oh my
something.
god, please. I would buy that in a heartbeat. That would be
Like,
incredible.
well, let's design that. I'm not even joking. You and I,
Guys,
we should like actually sit down, you and
yes.
me, and
Yes.
design an enamel pin and put it on Etsy.
You
I'm
guys,
deathly serious
you
about
heard it
that.
here first. It's coming. Put it
I
on your
want to
pre-order
draw. I just
list.
want to draw him like turning around, like showing off his incredible cake and his beautiful hair, and just have Bump Got the Rump
Yes.
text. Let's
Yes.
do that.
Let's
Let's
do it.
please.
I'm so excited. We have to do this, please. Oh my god. Yeah, Bump is just too beautiful for this world. Everyone applauds his beauty, his grace. But yeah, honestly, like, people are happy to see him, right? Like everyone loves Principal Bump. He's a wonderful educator. And he comes back and he has the missing students revealed. I love how those reveal like his hair, his beautiful luscious locks fall down and it's revealed behind him the two students that went missing. Like that's just so funny to me and so good.
I like to think he was protecting them in some fashion.
Right, exactly. And then of course Basha reunites with them and it's a sweet moment. Um yeah,
Ed's body is permanently ruined, by the way.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And then of course we see the rest of the gang, right, basically start to work to rebuild the Boiling Isles. This is kind of a funny moment too, right? Where it's like Luce has this line here, like not everyone was keen to change things, and we have this moment of like a few of the evil coven heads like kind of hungrily getting their little fingers wiggling at the throne, right? They're trying
There's
to
that weird top hat gas man who's like the most bloodborne thing they put
oh my
in.
god, yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
and I say that also with the full knowledge that the Good Hunter from Bloodborne literally has a poster in this show, and yet that weird top hat gas man was still like the most Bloodborne thing they could have put in this show.
Yeah, absolutely. But of course Darius is there to lay down the fist of the law, right? Be like, nah, you fuckers, like get your shit together. Which I love.
Darius is there to discipline them.
I love how like the top hat man like just he tries it, right? He tries it with a little touch of the throne.
Can we address the fact that the top hat man is presently in the still that you're on? Like, I don't know if you've moved on. I'm looking at the stream.
Yeah.
Doing the Wallace hands.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you've already moved on. It was when they were all like the three of them were like lined up looking at it.
Yeah.
He's like actually doing the Wallace.
Oh
hands.
yeah, he is doing the Wallace hands. Oh my gosh. The with his fists. Yeah, 100%. That's so funny.
That man is Wallace confirmed?
I mean that had to be an inspiration, right?
Not clickbait.
Does that mean Eberwolf is Gromit?
No. Gromit is not a feral dog.
Yeah.
Gromit is a very civilized, polite young
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Also, it's worth mentioning, right? We see like the guards, right? The Coven guards, work together now, right? Like Steve is able to kind of convince them to change their ways and get back to the helping them rebuild stuff. It's also worth noting and mentioning. I don't know exactly who is who. But I know that a lot of these background characters are cameos from the crew and from the artists and stuff like that. So I think that this purple hair girl is someone from the crew. A lot of these kind of one-off background characters are crew member cameos, which is neat.
Which one is Bob Hoskins, do you think?
Yeah, they had to give the Bob Hoskins cameo.
Obviously. He's the most important character in the show.
Obviously.
Obviously.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Darius co-parenting with Eberwolf. Yeah, absolutely. They're just dads together now with Hunter. They return to the Owl House. Rain and Ida are, reunited and get to rest. Lilith comes in and Ida and Lilith hug, which is a sweet moment. Luz is there with Amity, and Amity is just so happy to see Luz, and they run into each other's arms and they give each other a kiss, which is so sweet. I'm so happy that we got a Lumity kiss in this finale. It just makes me very happy.
Even though we didn't get nearly as much Camila and Ida as I would have liked, the tiny bit we had did make me cry.
Yes, it was
beautiful.
I also love Camila here. Like Camila just gently tapping Amity on the shoulder, being like, "Excuse me, can I have my daughter, please?" Like it's just very sweet, and I love them. I really do love them, and I love Camila so much. She's the best mom. And then she picks up Luz and spins her around as she hugs her, right? She's just so happy to see her daughter and to have her daughter back. And yes, this Ida moment was so perfect. Like the fact that she's like sweating and she's like nervous to meet Camila is so funny and sweet. And yeah, King's little smile as he extends his hand too.
What I love most about that Ida moment with the like how sheepish and nervous she is to meet Camila, is like that is 100% that is 100% a behavior that she would not have shown in season 1.
No, exactly, 100%.
She used to be such like an unapologetic asshole, just like real, right? Did not care what anybody thought, only cared about herself and her own self-preservation.
Exactly.
And by mild extension, King's, but like she was very much like a you got to put yourself first in this world. It's a brutal, uncaring universe. Be a con woman and sell tiny boxes with people inside. And but now she's all grown up and she cares and she loves people. And
yeah, I mean, it really does demonstrate her character growth, right? Like all these characters have come such a long way, and Ida is especially a character that has come such a long way. And you're exactly right.
Season 1 Ida would have been picking her nose and like not paying attention.
Exactly. It really just goes to show how far that she's come as well too, right? And I don't care what anyone says, I still ship it. I still ship Ida and Camila. I want Luz to have 2 moms, please. Like just have her 2 moms get married.
I will always be on that train.
I mean, you can't tell me that like she's not nervous to meet Camila, and you can't tell me that the moment that is pictured later with the 2 of them drinking apple blood is not a date. You can't convince me.
I don't think it's a date. I think they've long since been married at that point.
Good point. Good point.
Long since. They've been married for like 4 years. And that's just an average Sunday afternoon for them.
Exactly. The collector brings Hootie back, and even though it's a travesty that we don't get any dialogue from Hootie, this was still a very funny moment, right? With the freaking eyelashes and like him being yassified in this moment and his eyes like sparkling, like just really, really funny, and a very sweet moment as he reunites with Lilith too, right? And Lilith with like the tears streaming down her face as she's reunited with Hootie, and then they hug. It's very sweet, right? Like I really love that their friendship is something that like was developed in the show and like is taken seriously, and like I think it's just so fun, and I love their friendship and their relationship. And I also love how Amity is like still absolutely disgusted with Hootie. Like the look on her face is just like, ugh, like she still does not want to be around him or near him. And I can't blame her. She literally got swallowed by him at one point, so classic. Yeah, and then Luz is just like tearing up and she's just happy, and Amity's face is just like, ugh, gross. It's funny. The collector is there with Francois and gives Francois back to King, which again, we talked about Francois being like this symbol, right, of like the relationship between the collector and King. And we learn in this moment that the collector does decide to go back and like leave the Boiling Isles, and not necessarily go back to the archivist, right, but just learn more about the universe and kind of find their own way. And I know that some people didn't like that choice. Like some people were hoping that the collector would stay and like, be quote unquote adopted by like one of the characters or whatever. But I don't mind this choice. I like it. I like it as a sign of maturity for the collector, right? Like the collector understands that his actions have caused harm and have hurt people, and that not really everyone is going to forgive him, right? And it actually kind of reminded me a lot of like Spinel from Steven Universe, right? Where, Spinel made this conscious decision to leave.
What a mess.
Sorry, say that again?
What a mess.
Right, exactly. Just a total mess, right? And so she was like, the mess I've caused, I can't clean this up easily, right? And so it's better for me to just kind of remove myself from the situation. And I feel like that is like the way that those characters took accountability, right? And so in the same way here, I feel like I feel like the collector is taking accountability for his actions and leaving, right? And I think like that's a valid choice. And I think that it would have been nice to know that the collector is getting some sort of help or some sort of parenting of some kind, like if there was someone to help teach the collector more about the nature of life and death, and how to make friends and all that stuff. I think like that would be the ideal situation for the collector, but I do think it makes sense for him to leave as well and give the people of the Boiling Isles their space.
I just want to adopt him.
Maybe Tom just adopted the collector and that's where he is now.
That's what happened. He's in the other room actually. He is currently playing he's playing on my Nintendo Switch.
There we go, playing some Fortnite.
He's definitely not playing Fortnite. I would not allow that in this house.
What would the collector be playing, like Minecraft or something?
He's playing Pikmin.
Pikmin.
The collector has good taste.
The collector doesn't need to play Minecraft.
When the collector was referencing games, he was referencing the classics. He was referencing like Jenga and Pac-Man.
Oh yeah, he's probably playing like Tetris and Pac-Man. Yeah, totally. I feel like the collector wouldn't need to play Minecraft because he could just play on creative mode in real life.
But he does like those little critters in Pikmin. He thinks they're great. He's a big fan.
Yeah.
He has a hot jockey and he's listening to his favorite music.
Yeah.
On and on. It's fine. He's good. He's happy.
Yep. And then we get this moment, this kind of final moment with Luz, right, as she realizes that the glyphs no longer work. And I really like this. I think that this was kind of like, it added that little bit of bittersweetness, right, to the finale.
It's a symbolic send-off.
Yeah, and of course it kind of symbolizes that end of an era, right? Like the era of glyphs for Luce was like a chapter in her life that helped her, figure out who she was, and helped her kind of along this journey that she was on. But that's kind of exactly what it was meant to represent, right? Like the glyphs were this thing that helped her with this journey of this chapter of her life.
But
So it
now
is
they've
kind of
got new glyphs, and she's going to enter a new chapter of her life,
exactly,
and it's
yeah. And
going
I
to be
think that
great.
that's like really beautiful, right? Like it's a really beautiful way to kind of symbolize like the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, right? With little string bean being cute, of course.
String bean.
And a new one is just beginning. And I love just this final like kind of Good Witch Azura like hero shot, right, that we get from Luz at the end. It's just a nice way to kind of tie it all together.
Yeah.
We have been talking for more than 2 hours at this point, and all we have left is the time skip. And there's so much in the time skip. I feel like it's probably a good idea for us to just save that for next week and wrap it up here for today.
I agree. I'm tired.
Yeah, we're getting to the end, but was there anything else that we wanted to say about like the climax, the finale, about Belos, about this kind of wrapping up sequence here at the end?
Nothing I can think of. Knowing me, I'll probably think of something like 3 hours after the stream is finished. But
Yeah.
right now, nothing's coming to mind.
Yeah, totally. This is a good spot to leave it for today. Thank you all so much for joining us as always. It's really, really awesome to continue this discussion with all of you, and you all had some amazing thoughts to share with the group today. So we'll be back next week. We'll continue on with the discussion, and we will get into the time skip and give all of our thoughts and feelings about the time skip. I'll just say now that I really love the time skip. I feel like it was pretty close to perfect. And I loved everything about it, and it made me really, really emotional. And I'm really excited to talk about it with all of you next week.
The only thing that kept it from being 100% perfect to you was the lack of Bob Hoskins. He's
literally the only thing.
Which I think is fucking awful. It's
Yeah.
awful. It ruined the special for me completely.
Completely ruined.
I was like having such a good time, and I was like, "Where's Bob?"
Ruined.
Ruined. Literally ruined. It's over.
Totally, Robin. Like characters having to lose something that meant a lot to them, and them having to kind of figure out their new way, right? Yeah, it's a really kind of it's very beautiful, right? And it's kind of a symbol of growing up as well, too, right? Like Luce kind of leaving this era of her life behind and growing up, and as we see in the time skip, she's literally in a new era of her life now. She's going off to college. So really, really beautiful how those things tie together. Yeah, definitely, Robin will be going like frame by frame when we get to the time skip next week. There's a lot of little details that are so fun and so awesome. We'll get into all that fun stuff next week. Let's go ahead and wrap it up here for today. Thank you all again for joining us. I had such a great time discussing this section of the special with y'all. We'll be back next week to talk about the time skip, and we'll see you all then. Stay safe and take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.